Hello and welcome to V8 TechWorks. So today we are going to continue building our application and we are going to start integrating now. We are going to start integrating our front end here with our backend and be able to receive the data and also display that data into our front end here. But the other thing that I want us to look at is somewhere that I did some mistakes, so we need to correct that. So for example, for our pie chart here, it doesn't look very good. And one of you have suggested that I do some configuration or some changes so that this pie chart here looks very good. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to here into our front end, and also I'm going to the pages where we have the admin, because that's where we have our pie chart right here. And I'm going to change this cy here to 100 like that. And then when I save this and come back to my application, you can see now it is not working. So let me just change now the cy here like that. And then when I do that, you'll be able to see that now it has given some space, and it looks really, really nice. So another thing is that before this video, I was testing my backend using Postman, and you can see the routes that I had already created. And this one is for registering admin, for login admin, for get all donors right here. I'm having now this also for get all prospect, but there's one that has a mistake, and this one is for get one prospect, and this is where we are able to get prospect. And you can see here this we cannot be able to get API slash prospect slash find here, and also the ID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to correct this, and this is because it is in my backend here. So I'm going to close front end first of all, and in my backend here I'm going to routes right here, and under routes we are going to go to the prospect. And for the prospect here, you can be able to see that get one prospect here already we added here as a post method, but this one should be get method like that. And when I save this and then go back to testing this route and then save that and send that request, you'll be able to see that now it should work. So I don't know what is happening right here, so let me send it again. And yeah, you can see now we can be able to get that one prospect using the ID right here. So that is it. If you don't know how to use Postman, you can go back to one of my video. I showed you how to test your backend using Postman, and then you'd be able to understand what I have done. So I'm going to close this, and also I'm going to close this for the routes here. And then now we are going to continue with our integration. So what I'm going to do is that first of all, I'm going to fetch my donors here in my pages, and also we have the donors here. This is where I'm going to fetch the data, because if you look at here, my rows here, this is just data that I appended here. So you can see the name for the donors here, their blood group type, their diseases, their everything here. You can be able to see that I appended it. So I want to make sure that now I'm fetching the data from my backend, and because I had already created two donors here. So let me show you. If I come here to get all donors here, then send this request, you'll be able to see that we have these two donors here, and I created it before starting this video. So I'm going to fetch my data, and I'm going to use effect. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to import use effect, because I'm going to use effect from React. And then after that, use effect, what it does is that it allows you to have first of all, you need to have a function or a call function here, and also an empty array here as two arguments that you should pass. For inside this function, this is where you need to fetch the data. So before that also, I want to do something, and I want to create a file here that is called request methods, because this one will help us to create endpoint here. So request method.js like that. and I think, yeah, it should be there. And also I want to install AXOS because we are going to use AXOS to be able to fetch the data. So let me open my terminal here. So open the new terminal, and here I'm going to now install the AXOS. So I'm going to go to the front end like that, and then I'm going to add npm install AXOS like that, and then we are going to wait and see how it installs. So after I enter here, we need to wait until it installs the AXOS. AXOS is a very small package and it should not take a lot of time. So as you can see here, it is a very small package. After this, now inside this file here, we need first of all to import AXOS. So import AXOS from AXOS here, and then after that, actually this one should be AXOS like that. And after this, now you need to actually make sure that I have the baseline. So I'm going to, or base URL. So I'm going to create base URL here, and this base URL here, I'm going to add http here, and also add the localhost because this is my endpoint. So also I want to specify the port number, and then API, and then version 1. So this is just my endpoint. Another thing is now I want to create here a public request function. So public request, or any, you can call it even request. So it doesn't matter how you call it. So I'm going to create here an instance. So AXOS call the function create, and inside here this create function here accept like an object, and this object you can specify the base URL. So the base URL, I'm going to give it the base URL that I specified up here. And now the other thing that I'm going to do is just save this, and then I'm going to cross this part. So for this one, I'm going to import public request because that's how I'm going to make sure that I import, or I make request. So I'm going to add here public request like that, public request. Let me just see here, public request from, let me just come here and add the public, import public request from public request. I think, I don't know if it should be like this. So I think, yeah, it should be like this one here, should import it like this, and then this is .js here, and then now I can be able to use that in my use effect here. So the first thing that you need to do inside this callback function, you need to create a function. So let me create that function. So const get donors, this is a function, just a normal function. So I'm going to create as an arrow function here, and then when you when you have this function, you also need to call it just here. So get donors like that, and then you call that function, and then inside here also I want to create a state that will hold the data for our donors. So I'm going to add here another hook. So this one is donors, and then set donors, and then here we are going to have use state, and then let me import it like that, and then add now this empty I'm going to add here this empty brackets here, and or empty array, and this by default means that when this page will load, first of all the donors will be just empty array, and then afterward this array here will be populated with their data once we actually call this use effect here. So I'm going to add here try catch, and from here I'm going to add the try catch. I'm going to add here a sync like that, and then I'm going to add here, or create a variable here called res. Then I'm going to say await, and then public request. This one will be public request. Now I'm calling my endpoint, and then after that now I need to specify the method. So for example, here the method will be get, and then I can just specify the endpoint or the endpoint that I want to just make the request, and you can see the endpoint here is the donors. So after that, now the other thing that you need to do is now call the set donors here, and then populate it with the data from the response. So here I'm going to add dot data like that, and then here I can be able to console dot log the error. If we have any error, you can console log here, or even you can make a toast to make sure that you can show the error here. So after that, now what we can do is that I can try and delete these rows here, this data, because now we don't need to hard code the data. We are going to have the data from our database after we fetch it, and then now we can replace here from the rows. Here we can specify these to donors, because these rows will be populated with the donors data. So if I come back to my application here and try and go to the donors, here we I think and then reload here. Let's see if it will change. It is changing, so it is reloading, sorry. So here it needs to have that data. Now we have two donors, so it should show those two donors. So right here it is still reloading, and I know that there is a mistake that we need to correct, and that is because when you are fetching the data from the database, you need and displaying it in the data grid, you need to add something else here in our data grid here. So if you check here, you'll be able to see that the error here is the data grid component requires all rows to have a unique ID property. Alternatively, you can use the get row ID prop to specify a custom ID for each row. A row was provided without ID in the rows prop. So you need to make sure you have that, and then that one we are going to add it here. So let me add a get. Here we have a prop here that is called get row ID. This one here, get row ID, and then inside here we can specify the ID that we want to use. So I'm going to take from the row, and then I'm going to return now the row dot underscore ID, because that's how that's how Mongo's ID looks like. It's underscore ID. So if I save this and then come back to this page and then reload again, to be able to see now it should show those two donors. So you can see now we can display these two donors, and they have the same information because I didn't change the information, and you can do that on your end. The other thing that I want to make sure is that this button here can be able to delete the donors, and this will be a very simple task. So this one, let's go to this app here where we have the delete here, and we can see we have this icon here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to accept the params here and make sure to continue with me. So here I'm have params, and then here I can create now the function. So I'm going to have on click here as a function, that way on click, and then here I can call now the function handle delete. So we are going to create this function called handle delete, and then inside here we are going to accept now the params, or we are going to pass in the params, and then dot row and then dot underscore ID. So after that, now I can create this function now. So this function, I'm going to create it after the use effect here, and before that I want to format my code, and also I want to push this down like that so that we can have a space where we can work in. So here I'm going to add const and then handle delete. So handle delete like that, and then now because this is a call just a function that is here, arrow function. So I'm going to accept the ID. You can be able to see I'm accepting the ID here. And because what I'm going to do here is a synchronous function, I'm going to add a sync right there. And then here I can be able to add try catch. So try catch there. And after that, I'm going to say await and then call the public request. And then after public request, I can call the function delete like that. And then after that, I can specify, I'm going to use backtick and I'm going to specify the donors. And then I'm going to pass in the ID. So the ID that I'm going to pass here, that I'm receiving from now this function here. And then after that, I want to reload the page. So I'm going to call the window object and then location. And after location, I can say reload. This is if you want to reload that page. So like that, if here I can console log like that. And here, actually, you can also use toast to show that you have already deleted that that donor. So here I'm going to add this error like that. So after that, now I can try and maybe reload again first of all, and then try to at least delete one of these. So I'm going to click here, and when I click that, you'll be able to see that it reloads, and now we have only one donor here. So I think you have understood that. And then the other thing that I want to do is to do the same for the prospect. So let's go to the prospect here, and I want to show the prospect here. So let me open the prospects page so that we can also make sure that we fetch the data from our database and display the that one for the prospect. So I'm going to format my code first of all, and then here this is for prospects. This is for prospect, one prospect. I want to go to the prospects page here, and let me do that. So here I'm going to make sure that I import public request. So I'm going to import these two here because it's the same. We are going to use the same procedure. So like that, copy that, and then I'm going to paste it up here like that. And then the other thing is also we need to create a variable that will hold prospects. So copy this and also paste above here. And then for this one, I'm going to add this one. I'm going to add this to be prospects like that. And also here, I'm going to change to prospects. So prospects. And then I can add the function down here. So you can see this also is a dummy information, and this information, because now we are going to fetch from our database, I'm going to delete everything here. So like that. And then I can be able to copy the function that I had here, this one, and then I can now make sure that I copy this. Let me copy this and add it here in the prospects. So I can paste it here, but this time this one will be prospects. So prospects here, and also this one will be get prospects, and also for this one, you are going to add get prospects like that. So, and then also for this one should be the endpoint should change to prospects. So prospects right here. And then now I think that's okay. Now if I save this and make sure that I change here to now the prospects. So let me change to prospects. And also I want to make sure that I choose I add the ID here. So get row ID here like that, and then I'm going to get the row here, and then I'm going to return row and the row dot underscore ID like that. And then after that, I can save this and come back to the donors here, and you can see we have two donors here. But in this case, I don't have I'm not going to have this uh, delete here. And also you can see here there's information that we cannot be able to show here. So I want to also make sure that I change this to be able to see the data. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going first of all to remove this delete, because we are not going to delete the prospects. So remove this here like that. And then after that, you can see for field here for the ID, our MongoDB, it is underscore ID, is not like ID. And then here we don't have the Brad group type. We have a Brad group. So I'm going to change this. And this one, we don't have disease, we have diseases. And then after that, if I change that, you'll be able to see that now you can show that information here. Let me check for the for this for the donors here. Also, let me check if yeah, you can see we are not showing the ID here, and also the blood group type, and then diseases here. So let me change that. I'm going back to donors page here, and I can scroll up here and change this to underscore ID, because that's how MongoDB adds the ID. And also for this one is a blood group, not blood type here. So blood group, and for this one is diseases. So if I save that and then come back here, you can be able to see that the ID has been displayed here. We have the name, we have the address, we have blood type, and we have diseases here. So now what I want is that when you click on the edit here, you need to go to this page here where we can be able to update the information for our donor. But you can see here we had already we had coded the ID for that donor to be 123, and that means that we cannot be able to display that information for the donor here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make sure that I passing the ID for a specific donor. So let me come here, and already you can see that already you remember how we are passing the ID. For this delete here, we use params. We are going to do the same for the edit. So I'm going to accept the params here like that. And after that, now this is where we are going to accept now the ID from the params. So to get the ID, I'm going to add params dot row and then underscore ID like that. So if I save this and then come back to donors here and click on edit, you can be able to see here in the URL that this ID now is valid and is from MongoDB. So that means that we can use this ID and be able to display the information here for this donor. So I'm going to display that. Let me see where the error is here. So I'm going to come here, and you can see we don't have we are not using this icon. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to also to close this prospect and also donors. But now I want to show the information in this detailed page here for the donors. So what I can do here is very simple. So I'm going to fetch the data using this ID for our donors. So the first thing that we need to do is to come to the donors page here, where we can be able to show all the information, and we don't have to hard code this we are going to get them from now these donors from that specific donor. So what we are going to do is first of all make sure that we can get the ID in this page, and we need to pass that ID in URL here. So we need now to figure it out how we can be able to get this ID in this page, so that we can use this ID and be able to fetch that data for that one donor in this page. So I'm going to import several things. For example, I'm going to import use location from React Router DOM. So I cannot be able to see that here. So I'm going to make sure that I import React Router DOM here. Let me just do that, React Router DOM. And then after that, I can be able to see here, use location. So use location, you can be able to see this. this is what we are going to use to get the ID. So this one will help us to get the ID from the URL. So to get the ID, first thing that I need to do is to create a variable here called location, and now we are going to call this use location here like that as a function. And after that, now to get the ID, so we're going to create another variable here for the donor ID like that, and then here I'm going to just get the location, so this location variable here, and make sure that I can be able to access the path name. You can see we have the path name here, and after that I'm going to split now that path name, and we are going to use forward slash here, because you can see here this is a forward slash. So we have forward slash, so we need to have we are going to have this here as our location. It will have the admin, the donor, and also you're going to have this ID. So that means that after you split here, it will create an object, or it will be able to create it will be able to create a array that has those paths. And to show you that, I can be able to, for example, save this, and then let me console log here to show you what I mean. So console log here, and I can console log donor ID. And first of all, I won't even split first of all, so that you see what I mean. So when I save that and then come back here and maybe open the inspect here, go to the console log so that we can see the data that we had, or the path that we are console logging. You can see here actually /admin/donor, and then the ID here. So we need to get now this ID. So what we are going to do is use a function that is called split. So when we use split here, and we are going to specify we want to split where we have this forward slash. That means that here where we have this forward slash, when you do that, you'll get an array that contains all this. For example, this empty here, and then we have the admin, you have the donor, and we have this ID. So to access the ID here, you need to access that element here. So to do that, let's get from the that element. So let me access it here, and to access it, you are going to add it here and access that element. But let's see. So yeah, you can see now through accessing that element, which is the fourth element in our array, we can be able now to get the ID. So that's how you can be able to access the ID from this path here. So after we have this ID now, this donor ID, we can use it to be able to fetch the user. So what we are going to do is that here, I'm going to first of all also create another variable, and we are going to use state here. So use state, so I'm going to import it like that. And for use state here, because this is just one donor here, it will be an object. So I'm going to enter here, or to add here, an empty object. And here also I'm going to get the data. So this one is donor, and then we are going to set donor like that. So that means that we have the donor and set donor here. So now we can use state. So let's use effect, actually use effect from React, and then already now you know how to use effect to fetch the data. So I'm going to add it here, and then we can be able to use that. We can also add this array here. So I'm going to I'll create a function here called get donor, and then let me first of all create it get donor as an arrow function here. And after that here, we can have now to call that function down here. So get donor, so get donor like that, and then inside here I can add here a sync, and then also I'm going to use try catch, so just like the other one. So try catch here like that, and then here I'm going to accept the data, the response, and this will be a variable. I'm going to say await. I'm going to use now the public request. So here I cannot be able to auto import it. So what I'm going to do is to import it from manually from now this file that we created called let me come here to request methods here, so we can get now what we call public request and be able to import it like that. So this is public request here, and then this function is get, and also here we are going to use this backtick because we need to at least add the ID at the end. So we are going to get or to have the donors and then have the find here. So you can see we need to have find, and then we need to, or this URL here, endpoint, and then we can accept. Now we can just use now donor ID, and then we are going to fetch now our that specific donor. So I'm going to add here set donor, and then we can now populate using res.data like that. And then if it is for catch error here, you can use console.log and then display that error here. And then if I do that, the first thing that I wanted to show you here is the endpoint that you are hitting here is the one for get one donor, this one here. So let me add it, click it, and you can see here we need to specify the donors and then find, and then now we specify the ID, and that's why you can see here in our code that we are specifying that donors. After the endpoint, you need to specify the donors, the find here, and then the ID. So if I do that and then now try to make sure that I display the data here, for example, for the name here, I can just say donor dot name like that. Let's see if it's working. So if I do that, you can be able to see that, yeah, it displays the information here. But I don't want to add here in the label. I want to display it here in my, so let me just go back. I want to display here in my placeholder here, rather than showing a default name here. I'm going to now show here the real name. So I'm going to add here donor.name, and here for the address also the same. I'm going to change this to donor.address like that. I'm going to add here donor.tel. So here is donor.tel. This is phone number. I'm going to change this to Brad group type. This we are not going to change anything here. And also for this one, I can change this to email. So let me, the email here, we are going to change this to donor.email. And there's something that I forgot here, which is here we can add this type to be email. And also for the weight here, we can also do that. So I'm going to add here, let's say something like donor.weight. And then here I think we can add kg. I think it will not work. So what we can do is that to do that, I can use backtick here. And like that, I think, let me just remove this and add the backtick here. So add the backtick. Oh, actually we can use just these brackets here and add backtick inside here. And then first of all, what I can do is I can display that donor.weight here. and then here I can add kg, so that I can display that. So for the date also the same, I'm going to add here the date. So this one will be donor dot date, the date that they donated blood. And I think this I have already added the phone number, so I'm going to just cancel that. And for the diseases here, I'm going to make sure that I display it here. So for the placeholder, I'm going to add the placeholder here. And for this one, we are going to actually have that. So I have the placeholder down here. So I'm going to show the diseases here. So this one will be donor dot diseases, like that. And save this. When I save this, come back here, I'm going to see now the information right here. So I have the information for this specific donor. So if you have any other donor here and go to the edit, you'll be able to see a different data here, and you can edit that data right here and click update. But we are going to do that in a few. So what we are going to do also is to go to the prospect and do the same for the prospect. So for the prospect, let me just save here like that, and then save this. I'm going to come to the prospect page, so where we are going to show just the prospect, the detail for that prospect. So the first thing that I need to do, I'm going to come to the prospects first of all to be able to pass the required ID, because if you check here and then click on approve here, you can see we are just passing the ID as 123, and that means that we cannot be able to show the specific data for that prospect here. So going first of all to prospects here, and then in my edit here, I can be able to now require the params here. So get the params here, and then after that, specify that ID here. So like that, here I'm going to get the params and then dot row and then underscore ID. That's how you are able to get the ID. So after that, and then save that, I'm going to come back now to the donors, and when you click here to approve now, you can be able to see in this URL here, or in this path, you can see now we are able to display this ID here, which is different if I select another prospect. So you can see the ID is changing. So what we can do is that now we can be able to get that ID in our prospect detail page. So I'm going to open it here, and because it's the same with donors here, I'm going to copy the data. So I'm going to copy all of this here, like that, copy that, and let me copy it here, and then I'm going to paste it here on the top of this page. So on top of this page, I'm going to add these 3 lines of code here. And after that, inside here, I'm going to add this on how you can get on the variable for the prospect, and also how to get the ID. So I'm going to copy that and paste it here because it's similar thing. So for this one, I'm going to change here to prospect. So prospect, and then this one is set prospect. So prospect, like that. And then the other thing is after that, we need to show here the location. Yeah, that's okay, but this one is prospect. So this one is just prospect ID, like that. So I think that's all now for now. So what I'm going to do now is to call the function or the use effect here, and I'm going to copy it from here, this use effect, to be able to fetch the data. So copy this, let me copy it from here like that, copy it like that, and then I'm going to paste it down here. And this one I'm going to change to now get prospect, like that. And for this one, I'm going to get from the get prospects. So get from prospects endpoint dot find, and then also for this one, I'm going to change now from the donor ID to prospect ID, like that. And then the other thing is we need to change here to to set prospect here, set prospect. And then I think now this one also, we are calling this function here. So you can see here is as if this get prospect is not complete. So here we need to call the get prospect here, and like that. And then we need to first of all make sure that we have now, so from here, this part here, we need to make sure that we have closing curly braces here. You can see we have these curly braces that we didn't cross, and also we can have that array here, and then you can see that array is empty. So here we can format our code like that. And then let's see now. So here we can be able to display this information for our prospect. So this one, I'm going to get prospect. So from prospect dot name, like that. The address, for the address, I'm going to do the same. So prospect dot address, I'm going to get the phone number here. So this one will be just a prospect.tel, and for this one is blood group type. Here we are going to get it from blood group. So this one is prospect, so prospect and then blood group like that. And also the same for the diseases here, I'm going to get it from prospect, so prospect, and from prospect.diseases. And then here for the date, I don't think here we are going to have the date. Here we don't have the date because the prospect have not donated blood. And then for this one, we are going to, if the prospect knows the weight, so I'm going to display here prospect and their weight. So prospect.weight. And for the status, I think we don't have to show the status here. And then that is it. So if I come here, you can be able to see that we are able to display this information here in this detailed page here for the prospect. So if I come back to this part here, I can also do that, and you'll be able to see different information because we are using this ID here to access the information from the database for a specific donor and also for a specific prospect. So I think that video is enough. I don't want to get beyond that in this video. So in the other video, I'm going to show you how to add new donors to the database here. So like using this input here to be able to register the donor to our database. And also I'm going to show you how to approve to be able to approve now the prospect here to be donors. And then we are going to be able to have to see the information about the prospect, the donors here. We are going to show the prospect here, the donors here, and also make sure that we are getting statistics from our database here. So I don't want this video to be longer than this. So let's just end this video here. Have a great day. Remember to subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.